Hey everybody, this is Perch, and obviously you have done the Marvel news, so let's talk about the DC news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con this year. And in this instance, DC had pretty major news for their entire lineup that will affect every comic and be pretty substantial for the entire universe. And I'm talking, of course, about DC bringing back their old logo. They will be going back to that classic logo that a lot of fans have liked and kind of pined for. As DC has gone through various things, we've had the page-turning logo, we've had the more solid logo. Now we're getting the classic back. Whether this is a long-term change or just part of the initiative or something that's going to tie into kind of James Gunn's stamp on DCU as he builds it out, hard to say. But no, actually, of course, kidding. DC came into San Diego Comic-Con. Of course, a lot of rumors surrounding their Elseworlds like line, which was dubbed the Absolute line. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. But also with questions around when would we see a return to the Justice League title, who are going to be kind of the big, writers and creators that we're going to see in the lineup. And so basically, I think DC is looking at this moment in time, and that moment in time being the fallout of Absolute Power, the crossover that's currently going on, the big event, as a reset point to some extent. And people get frustrated when you use words like reset or reboot or anything else, but basically, much like you've seen from Marvel initiatives in the past, like Marvel Now or Marvel Legacy, it is being called a moment of jumping on, where you have some big new series launches, which we'll get to. You have some creative teams certainly shuffling throughout all this, but you're also having a line-wide jumping on point for readers. And for what it's worth, and I'll do another video about it, but to me, I think the jumping on point marketing aspect is a little overblown. I mean, the idea is that, hey, we'll get people to come in and feel comfortable, grabbing up a new title. I'm not sure if that's relevant because the only real people who know that there's a jumping on point are the people who are going into the comic store regularly anyway. And those people are usually quite comfortable with, buying a comic and then finding back issues that they like to run. So I'm not sure it's as big a trigger beyond incentive plans, but there are some of those as well. Okay, so that said, the fallout from Absolute Power, the DC superheroes battle against a trinity of evil, will result in big changes to DC Comics this October. Today, the publisher revealed details surrounding DC All In, which is their initiative, a line-wide moment that will combine an exciting, reimagined universe of DC superheroes, that's the Absolute Universe, and an ongoing line of core titles featuring bold new directions for DC's mainstay superheroes. That's the basic press. So what does this actually mean? Well, you have some story arcs that are kicking off. We can go quickly into those. In Batman, you've got a creative arc with Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez that is called The Dying City, focusing on the Riddler and the arrival of the new superhero Commander Star, the shocking murder of one of Gotham City's greatest citizens. So a little bit of action, a little bit of detective work. In Detective Comics, Rombi will relaunch basically bring in a new creative team, and that is Tom Taylor and Mikkel Janin. And this will be, the first arc will be Mercy of the Father, which is a ghost of Gotham City's past, returns to strike at Batman and will call back to the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne, promising major changes to the Dark Knight. But this is Tom Taylor joining the Batman line. In Action Comics, you see a arc, and it will go weekly with The Death of the Phantom Zone with Mark Waid and Clayton Henry, which will send Superman into the Phantom Zone to stop a horror from laying waste to Metropolis. And there will be a backup with Mariko Tamaki doing some work. Superman, Dan Mora is taking over the art duties on the core book with Josh Williamson as writer, and it's spinning out of Absolute Power, dealing with the return of Doomsday and the new Superwoman, Lois Lane, with temporary-ish powers, will join as they also fight the Time Trapper. In Wonder Woman, we see the continuation. It's all in jumping on point, but it's the continuation of the battle against the Sovereign. Tom King, Daniel Sampere is still on that book, and it promises that Steve Trevor's will have deadly consequences. But Steve's end could be the beginning of Diana's greatest adventure yet, motherhood, possibly teasing Trinity, or who knows. And then Green Arrow has some fallout because of his role in Absolute Power. There will be some new aspects to kind of his adventure from a new creative team of Chris Condon and Artis Montos as he deals with kind of his betrayal of the DC universe. So that's going on the main line. In the absolute line, there's been a lot of teases and aspects to this that I've struggled to report on because I had some information about it that I was sworn to secrecy on, but it's out now. And basically, the stress here is that this is not a reboot, and the Absolute Universe titles will start with Absolute Batman by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta, Absolute Superman with Jason Aaron, and Absolute Wonder Woman with Kelly Thompson. And so that line will do a very different, and from getting some early looks at some of the books, very, very different take on characters. So not a very much not just kind of an Elseworld. A few things are changed, but pretty dramatic differences in the characters. We see the Batman, for the preview art, is kind of a big brawler. His status quo is much, much different in terms of who he is and what he does and his approach to crime. We see Superman is older and basically has left Krypton at a much older age. Not too dissimilar from Supergirl kind of back in the day, but that he remembers Krypton, and so his whole feelings around Earth and how it exists is very, very different. And Wonder Woman is being billed as escaping hell and fighting giant kaiju as her dynamic. So very, very different personalities in the heroes. And at the event at San Diego Comic-Con, they also confirmed Absolute Green Lantern by Al Ewing and John O.A. Lindsay. This is going to have multiple Green Lanterns. It's being described as a first contact story. It will have Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, and Joe Mullen from Far Sector. And the book will be a definite reimagining of Green Lantern, from what I understand, a little bit more in the kind of horror vein a bit. And they're hyping it as Al Ewing's best work that he's done. That it's hard to really get after before the series has launched, but definitely Ewing is no stranger to kind of sci-fi and horror elements. This is a lot of what he's been doing lately. And then you have Ultimate or Absolute, Freudian slip there, Absolute Flash by Jeff Lemire and Nick Robles, which will be out next year in March of 2025. And more titles are expected to come. We are expected to see that there's a Absolute Martian Manhunter book kind of right around the corner, and this universe will kind of continue to go out. For what it's worth, the rumored name on Absolute Martian Manhunter is Dennis. That's Deniz Camp. But all in all, you've got a creator list for the Absolute line of, as I mentioned, Scott Snyder, Jason Aaron, Dennis Camp, Wes Craig, Nick Dragotta, Al Ewing, Jay Grayson, Jeff Lemire, Troy Lindsay, Pornzak, Pinchot, Nick Robles, Rafa Sandoval, Hayden Sherman, and Kelly Thompson. So a lot of talent in there. I'm a big fan of Nick Dragotta from East to West, and so anxious to see how all these things come out. Meanwhile, in the Mainline DC universe, the announcement that Mark Waid and Dan Mora will launch Justice League Unlimited, which will include Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and also bring in Captain Atom, Normal Atom, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire, which are newer characters to the series. And then you have the announcement that there will be a new Justice Society of America taking over the current run, which has had, of course, some pretty major delays in there. And Jeff Lemire will be doing that one, drawn by Diego or Tulugi. And this will feature a classic version of the team, but it will also merge with Infinity Inc. And so that comic will come in November. Finally, Ram V will be writing New Gods for this initiative, drawn by Evan Cagle. He did, those two have worked before on Detective Comics, so that will continue. And this is being billed as kind of a big blowout Kirby-esque, push of the New Gods. I think they always have to say that when you're doing New Gods. But that is coming there. So a couple of big new titles. You have New Gods, you have Justice Society of America, you have New Justice League, and then starting here, it looks like October, November, you have the Absolute line that's going to quickly get to 6 titles. So lots of comics, lots of things there. DC announced a bit of a promotion, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But basically, if you go in and you buy, at least 3 DC comics, it doesn't matter which ones, they're going to give you a card. And then you can collect these every week to kind of get an assembly of cards. And the cards are built to resemble the Justice League cards, where you can head up to the Watchtower. And if you collect them all, then you get a special Dark Side card, which looks different. By the way, throughout all this, Dark Side is being billed as the being returned to be the big, huge bad of the DC universe. So that's all going on. So a lot of things going on in comics. DC definitely putting a big push forward. It's not a line kind of reboot admission of problems that, say, Rebirth was, but it is a big line initiative with some new titles. So again, lots of jumping on points, and that's how it goes. Very quickly, outside of the world of comics, San Diego Comic-Con is very much around movies, and you did get the news that the James Gunn Superman film has wrapped. That film will come July 11th, 2025, and he was thanking everyone for a nice shoot. That one will introduce Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, and others. So interesting to see how that goes. Also, of course, tights. There was a trailer shown for Creature Commandos, which is arriving in December on Max. And then you also have the kind of the spin-out or sequel-ish show, The Penguin, that will continue from the Batman movie, which will feature Colin Farrell. And it's Matt Reeves is the executive producer, and it's really about Gotham's organized crime and the rise of the Penguin. So that releases pretty soon, September 19th, just a few months away. So anyway, lots of news for DC coming out of San Diego Comic-Con. What was exciting to you? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.